And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey, today we're taking a preview look at Gunship First Strike. Now, whenever I do these previews, I often caution you that the components are not final components, and I will make that same caution here. But wow, if this is the nicest prototype that I've gotten from anybody ever for one of these previews. The gunship is really far along, and the artwork is spectacular. When I look at these gunships and I look at this game, which is essentially a game in which one fleet is attacking another fleet, but it all centers around a gunship that you're using. The artwork is very cool looking. It reminds me of the Honor Harrington novels. That's the idea I get from this, and it's a very straightforward battle game. It's a two-player game where I'm coming in with my ships fighting against you with your ships, although you can expand it and play multiplayer, but basically it's a two-player game. I'm coming in and fighting your ships, and I'm trying to take out your assault carrier while you're trying to take out mine. Let's take a look at how the game plays. So here is the board. Now this looks complicated, but it's really not. What's going on here is this is actually the main sequence right over here. You have this assault carrier fighting against this assault carrier. And they're firing at each other. Boom, boom, boom. In fact, each turn you're going to draw a card, and it will tell you how many hits your carrier does on the other carrier. And hits are measured on a die that will move down here to do your shields, and then the die will count down from 12 to 1. So they're going to shoot at each other. So technically you could do nothing and just let your carriers shoot at each other. But you don't want to do that. What you want to do is you're going to be using... You have a bunch of fighters and your gunship, and you're going to be attacking your opponent's gunship and fighters and going after his carrier. Now, players will have their fighters in front of them, a fighter squadron, and these fighter squadrons will be fighting each other, and as the fighters will take hits, you're going to do this to show that fighters have taken some hits, and once one of your squadrons are gone, you will have fewer dice that you'll be able to use with your fighters. Fighters are used in this game to strafe the enemy gunship and just basically to swarm and fight and protect your gunship from the enemy gunship. Then this enemy gunship your gunship that you have here is actually this ship right here. And this is where the game is really fun and neat, because you have this board which has these two detachable boards that come onto it. And by the way, we got to talk about the artwork for this game. Is just absolutely fantastic. But at the beginning of the game, you're going to go through and you're going to customize how your ship looks. Like, for example, I can say I want to put an ion cannon here in the number 7 slot because that's what I want to use. But at the same time, you might not want to use ion cannon. You might want to use thruster bombs instead. So you can pick which one you want to go on each section of your spaceship. And so I'll put blaster cannons on these sides. And so you set your, or ion cannons, and you set this up because each of these weapons does something different. The blaster cannons are used to simply attack your opponent's gunship and to take out their fighters, while the ion cannon can shut down part of your enemy's gunship. It doesn't do as much damage, but it can shut down sections of your enemy's gunship. The thruster bombs are no good at all against your enemy's gunship, but they're good if you get into that assault carrier. Then you can fire these and drop bombs on your opponent. Everything is built around this deck here. This deck here has lots of different cards in it, and many of these cards are hits. These are cards that you'll be playing, like for example, this requires a blaster cannon. If I have a blaster cannon, I can hit you, and if I get really lucky, I can double hit you, which is neat because all the other cards have these. And when you hit someone, you're going to roll an 8-sided die, and that will show you what section of the ship you hit, and you can see that these sections, you're putting these cards on them, so again it looks thematic. It looks like the ship has taken a hit. There are other things you can do too. You also will get armor at the beginning of the game, and you'll put that armor on different locations that you want to protect on your ship. And your ship also comes with shields. When you take hit, your shields go away first, and then when your shields are gone, then your ship starts taking a hit. But we're getting ahead of ourselves a bit. Let's talk about how the game plays. At the beginning of each round of the game, players are going to roll for initiative, which involves a die and the number of fighters that you have left. Then you are going to draw your hand up to 5 cards, and the carriers are going to shoot at each other like I talked about before. After that, your fighters are going to go, then your gunship. There's different areas here on the board. There's the middle here where you're fighting one another. But after that, your fighters can go ahead, they can pull back to defend your own ship, to go up here. And Not necessarily to attack the assault carrier, although with the kamikaze rules they can try that, but basically to defend your gunship or to annoy and strafe your opponent's gunship. Your gunship is going to be doing the same thing. He's either going to be fighting the fighters, he's going to fight the opponent's gunship, or he's going to try and swoop in on the assault carrier. When he swoops in, the assault carrier here is going to, blast at him, and he'll take some damage, but hopefully he'll be able to hit the assault carrier. Or you can even go back to your own ship and try to repair your own damage. Now, the fighters, when they fight each other, it's pretty simple. You're rolling dice for how many fighters you have left, but you get 1 die for every 3 fighters, and they shoot at each other. Gunships are different. They have a bunch of different weapons based on what you've picked at the beginning of the game, and then you're going to go through the deck. Like I showed you already, a hit card here, if you have a blaster cannon, will hit your opponent's ship. You have a torpedo card, which is what each ship comes automatically with a torpedo launcher, and that is your main weapon against your opponent's carriers. You have these ionized cards. These are what you will use to fire from your ion cannons. But then you have other cards that will help the damage. For example, slagged. This, when you attack something, usually it will take a damage, and 2 damage will take it out. Slagged will take something out permanently. I might take out your ion cannon on the side, and then you don't have it for the rest of the game. In fact, we can say, boom, it's gone. Now have fun playing with that. Bullseye will let you pick which part of the opponent's ship you hit rather than just taking it randomly, or you can even shoot long range, farther away. Bonus damage will do double damage. That's where these cards come in with the 2 hit locations on the back. Damage control lets you heal light damage, which is only 1 damage, or you can add a shield level in case your shields are down. And so the cards, there's not really a ton of variety amongst the cards. They're just different cards of the different types. But what you're trying to do, like I said, is take out your opponent's gunship and or get in there and take out your opponent's assault carrier. To take out the opponent's assault carrier, you're going to be shooting torpedoes at it, but you also have the possibility of maybe shooting off the side weapons if you took them. And again, this is where you're going to have to decide what you want at the beginning of the game. But these thruster bombs, they're random, but you might take 3 hits on the opponent's carrier. I like using them myself, but you never know if they're going to work. So as you're hitting your opponent's ship, and you can take things out, if you hit your opponent's engines, they're going to lose actions that they take per turn, because each player has 3 actions they can take with their gunship. If you lose the power generator, you're going to run into trouble. If you lose your shield generator, you don't have shields anymore. If the weapons take hits, you're going to have specific weapons. But it's not a very complicated game, because eventually someone's carrier is going to run out of hit points, and then the game is over. Doesn't really matter what happens to your gunship at that point. It's all about taking out your opponent's carrier. The person who does that is the winner. The rule book here for Assault Carrier is quite a few pages, but most of those pages have pictures and explanations of the cards. But the one thing I wanted to mention about this game here and point out is that Gunship is a very simple game. It's not difficult to understand at all. When you look at it, you're like, oh, it seems like there's a lot of rules. No, there's really not. And it's a very quick game. Once you know how to play the game, once you understand the different things, you're going to actually find that your setup for the game is almost as long as the game itself. Not quite. But you're just coming in and you're chucking dice. And if you like chucking dice and attacking your opponent, you're really going to enjoy it. There's throwing dice for the fighters. Then there's playing cards to shoot the different weapons and trying to hit your opponent's ship and see where you hit it. And there'll be a lot of laughing back and forth. The strategic decisions aren't many in the regards that you just decide, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to send in my fighters here, move my gunship here. Am I going to try to take out my opponent's fighters? Or am I going to try to take out his gunship? Or am I just going to forget all that and go for the carrier or do something in between? It's really fun to do that initial setup, to build your spaceship. How am I going to build my spaceship that's different than yours? And I've already seen some upgrade cards and things that for the an expansion where there will be different special things that you'll be able to do to your ship. Which parts of the ship are you going to armor? Are you going to decide to go back to repair your ship, or are you just going to keep plugging away and fighting the opponent's carrier? There's luck of the card draw, and there's certainly luck of the dice, and that's in there. But it plays very smoothly, and like I said, it's a very simple, straightforward 2-player game. Or more players, as be. Great artwork. I like the theme a lot, and I'm struggling to think of any 2-player game like this where there's any kind of ship-to-ship combat. But if that's something you're interested in, you can go kickstart this right now. There's a lot of cool rewards. Gunship First Strike.